you're renting these wonderful Airbnbs and you're going to hotels and you're bringing her gifts and you're eating out in all the greatest places. And, you're in the country, so you want to see new places. So you're taking her to all of these new places that you've never been to that, most Dominicans may not even go to.
What up, what up, what up? What's happening? Que lo que mi gente? Welcome to Love, Purpose, and Passports. Hope all is well and all is passport ready and passport getting ready. For those of you that don't know, I am Mr. Pro for you, living in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And look who's with me today. This little fine palm tree of mine. I can't even help myself. I'm trying not to say it, but I can't help it.
He's so cute.
Damn.
Oh, qué lindo. He's so cute. Thank
Miss
you,
Pro for you.
Hola, saludos, and hello a todos.
I'm going to tell y'all while I be acting like this every time. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't be seeing what she got on until she walk out. Like, you know what I'm saying? 2 minutes before we start. I'll be like, all right. It's,
Only he fills in the blanks.
I've gotten better over time. You know what I mean? I don't have to use the censor beeps that much now.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like I used to.
Because he still says it, but yes.
True. This right here, if you could see this thing from top to bottom, this is like a Christmas tree in the last day of August. Gifts at the bottom. You know what I'm saying?
Gifts at the bottom? Well, thank you, mi amor. I appreciate it. The compliment, I don't completely understand it, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
So how you doing today, Miss Pro?
I am doing well. And today I learned something absolutely new that blew my mind. I have been mispronouncing a word for the past, I don't know how many years, and I didn't realize I was mispronouncing the word. And I thought that I was saying the word so smoothly, and my husband was like, it's what was it? I would say, oh, I'm going off on a tandem. And he's like, no, it's a tangent. And then he spelled it for me, and I was like, no, it's not. And he's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, it is? My whole life has been a lie.
All the times when she was just popping with the English.
So now I have to like practice tangent forever because I've been saying it wrong. And
hey, look, just like I say, learn this Espanol. I'm always trying to figure out something, drawing blanks and don't even know how to, fill in the blank and all that. But yeah, hey, this is what we're here for.
Hey, but that's not the only thing I say wrong, okay? Whenever we watch movies or YouTube or whatever together, I always confuse the real name with the Spanish name. Like, for example, we were watching something and the person's name was Roscoe or Roscoe or something.
Roscoe.
And then I go to him, he must be Latino
Spanish.
because his name is Orozco or Roscoe. And he was like, that's not what that says. I go, yes, it is, mi amor. That's a Spanish name. He was like, no, that is not. You're not understanding what he's saying. So I'm always getting the words wrong.
I'm like Spanish. Orozco. I said, oh, okay, yeah. Roscoe.
Yeah, I'm always getting it wrong. So
P. Coltrane. So yeah, Roscoe P. Coltrane played on the Dukes of Hazzard many years ago. Okay. That was a famous Roscoe. Oh. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I should have said Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
Okay.
So yeah, Roscoe. She thinking about Orozco.
I got it wrong. I get it wrong all the time. Like I'm always getting the words wrong.
Yeah. So, we got something for him today. Usually, and you're going to like this one. Because usually, I like to talk to the fellas about, the fellas getting up to speed, with their relationships and with just dealing with things here on the island. And so I talk a lot about unrealistic expectations with the fellas. Well, fellas, we got something for you today. We're going to talk about, Miss Pro's going to talk about unrealistic expectations of the chicas, of the young ladies. And this is probably worldwide, right. Unrealistic expectations of the women in other countries. So this ought to be interesting. Put your hearing aids in and let's get ready to do it. So, Miss Pro, we here for you.
Well, thank you.
You said you had an intro for us.
Oh, I need to get myself together. I messed up, baby.
Scene mother 3, take mother 2.
That was really motivational. Really helped. Thank you.
So, Miss Pro,
Hi.
We all ears.
So, we do a lot of consultations. Sometimes we do consultations together, and sometimes we do consultations separately. And when I do consultations with ladies, a lot of the conversations that we have are going to be about the things that we talk about today. We notice that sometimes, because it's couples consultations, right? Sometimes the ladies and the gentlemen we speak to, they clash because there are some unrealistic expectations that some of the ladies have, and they just innocently don't know any better. Mm-hmm. So then when someone kind of tells them and says, no, you might think it's that way, but in reality, it's like this, they don't understand it. But then once they do understand it, it's easier to get over those problems in the relationship that they're having. So we thought that it would be a good idea to put together all of the common misconceptions that the false expectations that ladies have when dealing with foreign men, right? And
nice.
and when we say foreign men, we're predominantly talking about men from the U.S., from Canada, from European countries and things of that nature. We always tend to see you a certain way, and we think our lives are gonna be a certain way because of what we might see, on social media, movies, on TV, or whatever. And it sets unrealistic expectations and causes all types of headaches. So this is not like a deal breaker, but if we tell you these things ahead of time, these are conversations that you can have with the young lady, and even conversations that a young lady can have with a man that might live in the DR or other countries like that before moving the relationship further, right?
Exactly.
Just kind of talk about it beforehand so everybody kind of understands in what direction you're going, and it solves a lot of stuff ahead of time.
Yeah, a lot of these videos that we do, especially when we're talking about relationships, we're basically kind of giving you a heads up on things that gives you the opportunity to get ahead of it before you're in the middle of it, trying to decipher what's going on and trying to figure it out. Because once you're in the middle of it, it can be like a hurricane, it's a storm, and now you don't really have time to focus on what someone told you or anything, because now you're in the throes of different emotions and different feelings and things like that. So this just gives you an opportunity to get ahead of this, so that way you can kind of broach these conversations when you feel like it's a good time instead of waiting until something happens and get an understanding.
Right.
So, beautiful lady of mine, I like the way this is going.
It's going good.
This is good.
It's going good.
It's a good topic. It's usually me. Now I get to sit in the passenger seat and let Miss Pro roll. You know what I mean? I gotta like this. So, Miss Pro, the first one is thinking that she'll live her life in your country.
So, correct. The majority of women that deal with men that are from the countries that we already mentioned, they think that they're going to leave the country that they live in to go live in the United States, to go live in Canada, to go live in Europe. And they have this expectation in mind without ever really talking about it. And what they don't realize is that maybe the guy doesn't want to move back to his country for a multiple amount of reasons. She never really understands that. That's one thing. And then another thing, she's under the impression that moving to the country is going to be an easy, quick process. So let's say that they are moving to the US or something or whatever. They think that the process is like simple. Like for some strange reason, they're under the impression that they say, okay, well, I have an American man, or I have a Canadian man, or European man, or whatever, and that's it. We're together. We're gonna get married, and if we get married tomorrow, that's it. In 2 months, I'm in his country legally, and I'm gonna be a citizen and working and be in the country legally in 3 months. Like they're under this impression that it's a quick, easy process without even understanding, one, is that like a realistic goal? Does he really want to go? Right. And two, not understanding it's a very long process, especially the way the world is working right now. Things are taking longer and longer and longer to do.
Yep.
It's a long, expensive process, eh?
It is, and here's the thing. Most of you, for most guys, it's already a red flag about, her wanting to move to his country. And it's not so much the red flag because she's interested in moving to the country. It's because that's been a fantasy of hers.
Yeah. Since
before you came in the picture. So no guy wants to be a ticket to the US, and because it's more of a fantasy of hers, a guy will feel like, well, I don't want her to love the US more than she loves me, especially since, he has to sign onto that and be responsible, for her and everything. So it's very important when we were just talking about the fantasies, to get ahead of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it may take her a while to understand that, hey, you want to move to her country. And she may, you may see that she feels down a little bit about that. Mm-hmm. Does it mean that she ain't really like you? No, because you got to think, like, a lot of people think about moving to the US or going to other countries like maybe their whole life, right? Like
True.
The opportunity.
Absolutely.
So it's very easy for her, even if she's not malicious, it's very easy for her to be thinking that, man, now this is going to have, my whole life is going to change with this guy. I like this guy and my ship has arrived. Both. But we're not talking about malicious intent.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. We're not talking about anything malicious. These are not deal breakers. These are not flags, nothing. These are conversations that need to be had before they become a problem. Remember how we discussed, the 4 phases of a relationship, where there's like the honeymoon phase, and then there's like the phase where you're kind of getting to know each other. And when you get to know each other, all the expectations that you had in the honeymoon phase might have shifted and changed. That's the phase where things start getting a little bit complicated because you think the relationship is going to be one way. And then the reality is, that's not really what's going on. Right. So these are conversations that you could have to make sure that everyone is on the same page, so you never go through those uncomfortable situations. Yeah.
And I like that you said that it's not a red flag because she always wanted to move to the US. Right. That has nothing to do with you. And I mean, even though she may think that, we see it as a red flag because of all the horror stories that we've seen and all of that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't break up with her because you found out she wanted to move to the US and now you think, she's going to use you as Noah's Ark. That's not necessarily the case, right? Noah's Ark. That's not necessarily the case, right? Correct. She may not be meeting you thinking like, well, no, I'm going to go. Now she could, but like I said, we're not making, this isn't a red flag conversation. This isn't about looking for bad women and this isn't even about weeding out bad women. No. We're just talking about, it's just like you can have an unrealistic expectation. That doesn't make you a bad guy. That means that you just have to adjust it along the way. So if you get the feeling that she wanted to move to the US or anything, that doesn't mean, red flag, I need to break up with her right quick. Look, you just got to communicate with her that, this probably isn't going to happen if that's not something that you want to happen, or if it's something that, look, I'm moving there, or whatever. So that's all I wanted to say, like, that's what I'm glad that you put it like that it's not necessarily a red flag. No. She can be a good woman for you. Everybody's expectations will be adjusted in this relationship because you guys come from 2 different cultures and 2 different countries. Yeah. And that's part of the journey.
And frankly, even if you don't come from 2 different cultures or 2 different countries and you're right next to each other and you were raised together, it's inevitable that you have different expectations of where the relationship is supposed to go. It's normal. It's completely a normal phase. And what we're doing now is
kind of balloons pop up. I don't know what it was, but yeah.
I did something and I saw like these little balloons pop up. I'm like, I want that on my phone.
Look, she be happy when she see that stuff. Me, I'd be mad. Like, what the heck is this going on?
Yeah.
But anyway.
So I guess what I was just saying was, these are just conversations that you could have to make your relationship go a little bit smoother.
Yeah.
That's all.
So I like that. So this next one, constant romance. She believes it's going to be constant Pepe Le Pew level romance.
Pepe Le Pew, brother. Yeah. We
Johnny Gill, New Edition. You know, again, we just mentioned it. 90s R&B.
We see, believe it or not, we're really highly influenced by what we see on TV. We don't even realize it most of the time, but we grow up with these expectations of these romantic men that, you know, are always loving us and caring about us and treating us a certain way. And then when you're in a long distance relationship from different cultures, when you do get together, you tend to love bomb each other because you don't see each other all the time. So when you do see each other, you want to squeeze all of that in. What happens is it sets the unrealistic expectation that you're always like that, right? So they think every second of the day, all the time, it's always going to be like it is when we're on vacation. So then what ends up happening is that when you get into a normal situation and they see that the romance is not always like that, it sets an unrealistic expectation. And now they start thinking, you know, are you rejecting me? Don't you really like me? What seems to be the problem? This is not what I signed up for. I thought that it was going to be like this. And then there's an unrealistic expectation that kind of goes there. And then for the ladies, my husband likes to call them the fellettes. I love that name. It's so cool.
Fellas and fellettes.
So for the fellettes, right? Let's say that a young lady or lady in America or Canada or Europe or something meets a man abroad, like in the DR. I'm in the DR, so we're gonna talk about that. They also have, men here also have a certain expectation of how women are. Latina women are very loving. We're very cariñosa. We're all over you. We're always touching you. We're always feeling on you. We're kind of all over you. He suffers.
I'm telling you, fellas, that's why I said, you know, you get here, you know, and when it comes to the affection, let me say it in our language. Basically, a lot of little things to you up. It's just coming from everywhere all the time, and after a while, you like, okay, like I said, it turned to beast. You know, you ain't used to all that. You know what I'm saying? You used to, you know, come on, what is this? What is she doing? Now, yeah, okay, you know, yeah. So like I said, I ain't with all that, you know, that mushy video making. I'm just saying, you know, she get to doing all this little stuff. It's cool.
It's cool.
And I'll be expecting that in the morning.
And what ends up happening is that, let's say that they do go to the United States or something, they have the expectation that they're still going to be treated that way without understanding that maybe women in the US have a different idea of the day-to-day, kind of similar to, like, you know, men in the US, that the day-to-day is a little same. I guess in the same situation would be the same, right? No? Like, I guess it would be the same situation, meaning that, you know, you're not on romance mode anymore. You're not on vacation mode anymore. So when
no, it's the same for everybody. Nobody's on romance. Yeah, nobody's on romance every day, you know, in the situations and stuff.
So there's an expectation there that is a little bit of a they feel unhappy with the reality of it because they had a different expectation. And mind you, these are things that we have with conversations with people all the time. These are not like just, you know, these are real conversations that we have all the time with people. We decided to write them down and share the top ones that we keep seeing over and over again with you.
Yeah. And so, like she mentioned, think about when you're coming here to visit, you know, it's heavy on the romance. Like she mentioned, you know, it's you miss each other so much, you're going hard, you know what I mean? And you're all in love and stuff. And so it does create a fantasy for her.
Yeah.
She's, you know, you have her caught up in the clutches of that fantasy. And so once the real relationship starts, whether she's there going to your country or whether you come to her country, you know, when you start getting back into these regular days, you know, of just living life, you know, you sitting back with your feet kicked up watching TV or something, and she wondering like, I thought you're not hugging all on me, you're not doing all this stuff. So, or just a regular day. It can be, feel different to her. It can feel different to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like I said, when you working your way up to living here, or, when you're working your way toward living together, you just have constant hot spots, where you're going to see her, you know what I mean? And when that changes, just like I was telling you in the last video that I did about my last solo video about being in your not looking for love, looking for respect video, about being caught up in the romance. Because guys get caught up in the romance as well, and so, and I mentioned that being the same thing that women do, it's okay for a woman to get caught up in romance, but again, get ahead of these things and you can start having conversations or start understanding why she's responding a certain way when things kind of get into a normal groove of things.
Yeah.
So this next one, this is a good one right here. You know what I'm saying? This one, we can't wait to hear about this one right here. This one is, we got love. We got love for the homies that be rolling with us. Shout out to the supporters of the channel.
Shout out to the supporters.
Man, y'all keep us hyped. We love singing this song. We love kicking it off.
We got love.
Yeah. Our supporter for the week.
Oh, who's that?
The scary homie. Necro Cannon.
El señor Necro.
Boom. Dropping them.
Thank you,
Necro Cannon.
Gracias.
Oh, homie, we appreciate you. Thank you for supporting the channel. We got love for the homies that be rolling with us. Back to the video. All you foreign men are rich. We know you rich. Tell us about that one, beautiful lady of mine.
Well, picture this. You come to see your young lady, and when you come to see her, you're renting these wonderful Airbnbs, and you're going to hotels, and you're bringing her gifts, and you're eating out in all the greatest places, and you're in the country, so you want to see new places, so you're taking her to all of these new places that you've never been to, that most Dominicans may not even go to regularly. So in her mind, she's thinking that there's just this endless supply of money that you just you will be able to afford living like that all the time. Right. So they think that, and then they also, Instagram makes us think that all the women in America have all the nicest clothes. They have all the greatest shoes. They drive incredible cars. They have these big fancy houses. This is all we see on Instagram. And then the third thing is, when like a Dominican comes back from one of these countries to visit home, they come with 4 or 5 suitcases, all new clothes. They're spending money. They're paying their mother's bills. Like, they're coming back and you're like, man, they must really have money to be coming back doing all of that here. So in their mind, they think, this guy, he must really, really, really be rich.
Got dollars.
Yeah, when in all actuality, most guys live pretty regular lives. They work jobs. They save money. They pay bills. When they can go out, they go out. When they can have fun, they can have fun. They might not do it every day. Most lives are pretty normal, but they don't realize that. So then when the situation is, when they get to that point in their relationship where it's more normal, right? When they're seeing each other normal, or they're living under the same roof or whatever, they're like, what the hell is this?
Oh,
what's going on here? Like, this is not what you led me to believe.
Yeah.
So that's also a big issue. And it's not necessarily because she's like, trying to get over on you.
Yes.
It's just maybe she thought one thing, and then she was like, if you would have maybe told me from the beginning, I would have. And we've heard that. We've heard girls say, I mean, it's okay. I mean, maybe if he would have just told me from the beginning, it would have been different. I feel like he kind of sold me one thing and then it's another thing. So in her mind, there's a little bit of a confusion with the expectation. And then in the guy's mind, there's a little bit of a confusion to like, well, what did you think? So these are conversations that you could kind of had, you could kind of have before it turns into an issue.
Exactly. And so, I mean, look, fellas, we know either you're rich or you're not. Most of us are not. You know what I mean? And like she says, social media will have women believe in everything they see.
Oh, yeah.
But also, look, you've been coming through, you know what I'm saying? Throwing them pesos around like it didn't matter. Going to the best places and all that, staying at the best places. And the thing is, it's from start to finish in the trip and every trip. And so, again, this is not for something to make you think she only wants you for your money.
Right.
You set the bar when you coming out here sometimes and don't know it.
You don't realize that you're doing it. Exactly.
Yeah, you don't realize it. And here's the thing, and I've also talked about this before. She doesn't see your sacrifice that you're making to make that happen.
No.
She only sees you making it happen. Is that her fault? No. Is that your fault? No. You just making it happen. She doesn't see you, what you're doing for that. And so again, if this situation comes up, this is why we letting you know now so that you don't get the wrong idea about her, because all of these situations can cause some big clashes and can cause some big fights, and it can cause it'll all be based on big misunderstandings.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about bad women.
No.
We're talking about a good woman that you chose, but you'll see her as a bad woman because you're getting the wrong idea because she got the wrong idea. Mm-hmm. So as far as this money thing, look, take some time to bring her back down to earth. It's not letting her know, oh, I'm poor. You're not poor compared to her. Compared to what kind of money they make. It's not that you're poor. It's that what you give, the idea you're giving her is that you got it like that.
Yeah.
And look, you reeled her in with that. And we're not saying you were acting like you had something you didn't have. You did have money that every time you come here, you could do that. But you're not living like that every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So when you start living together and you get together and it kind of, gets back down to grind mode, and you're not making all these moves and not doing all this stuff, now she's looking a certain way. Well, again, if you haven't had these conversations, it's going to blow up the wrong way because she's going to get the wrong idea, and then you're getting the wrong idea from her having the wrong idea. And now you clash like, man, she's going to come at me like this because she just wanted me for whatever money she thought I had. And then she's talking about, oh, I thought he had. No.
And then you're calling us. Yeah.
Yeah. But look, get ahead of these conversations. Yeah. Get ahead of these things before it happens, and that's why we've talked about sometime, look, sometime just have a regular trip, especially if you're getting serious with her, and talk to her about the sacrifices you're making. Don't hide it. Like, look, these are the things I'm doing to make this happen, because I want this to happen for us. It's just a conversation, right. It's not saying that you're poor, it's just saying that, look, this is what I'm doing to make this happen for us. I sacrificed to make this happen. This isn't my, I'm not just throwing my pocket change over here for this. Make it happen. We roll in. This next one that she thinks is going to be instant cultural compatibility. Tell us about that one, beautiful lady of mine, because
I had
we're hanging on your every word.
I had a very long conversation one time with a very nice lady, and she was kind of telling me, well, he's doing this, and I go, well, he's doing that because in his country they do that, and she's like, but he said this and this. I go, yeah, because in his country this and this and this and this, and then the conversation went on like that for a couple of minutes. And, I said to her, these are things that I too had to learn with, my journey with my husband. You do come from two different cultures, and it's not just going to instantly click. These are things that you have to discover about each other and talk about and come to some type of a middle ground and set like a foundation, there's different family expectations, there's different tradition expectations, there's different gender role expectations. There's a lot of different expectations that you have and he has, but because they're normal to you, you never stop to think that they're going to be normal or different for him, or what's normal for him. You know, and once I kind of had that conversation and explained it to her, she was like, well, I want to work on it. I didn't know. And I'm like, yeah, most people don't. You don't know what you don't know, you know? So yeah, a lot of people think that, excuse me, with the different cultures, it's just going to click. They don't realize that there's a lot of things that are different in there that you're definitely going to have to talk about and work on.
Right. And, you know, we talk about relationship building. You know, you're going to have to build a relationship, which means that, you know, there is no already know in a lot of the relationship. You think you know, and then you got to find out that you don't know. You know, the cultural compatibility thing, you know, it's eventually going to show itself. And the difference between you guys and her is she probably doesn't have anybody to tell her these things already.
Yeah.
You know, especially like, you know, if you're moving to her country, you've been visiting her country before you get there. I mean, before you settle in there, you know, or if she comes to your country, you already been there. So either way, you're kind of the one that has a head start on things, and she's just coming into things. You know what I mean? So again, be ready for this, and, you know, get ahead of it. When you see little cultural differences and stuff, it's going to take some talking. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some adjustments. But at the same time, you're going to have to probably do the most talking about it because she doesn't know. Yeah. And she probably doesn't have anybody to share these things with her like we're sharing it with you. So, you know, it's part of the relationship journey. Like we said, there's no shortcuts with the relationship. It has to be built from the ground up. And these are issues these are some of the issues you're going to have to work out. Don't look at it as a bad thing. Just look at it as a thing.
No, and these are things that you could definitely work through. Like, you know, at the end of the conversation with her, I just recommended that if ever something comes up that you don't really understand that he's doing or says or whatever relates to that, I just said, you know, just respond. That's interesting. I didn't understand that about your culture. In my culture, it works this way. Mm-hmm. And then that opens up a friendly conversation that will let him know, oh, I didn't know. Mm-hmm. In my culture, they do this. It's very interesting. In your culture, could you talk to me about that or explain that or something? That opens up a really good conversation. So that was like the activity that I kind of left her with. And these things you could work out.
Communication.
Yeah, you could definitely
It's going to take communication. Sure. Yeah. If you don't communicate, it's going to crash and burn because you're just going to keep going at it. Communication, if there's already walls up, communication will break down the walls. It may not kick down the wall or knock down the wall the first time, but, you know, you keep going back and forth because this whole relationship is a journey. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're not there as soon as you start the relationship. You're on your way there. So there'll be obstacles, you know, there'll be all kind of little things along the way. And so, again, this is one. We also, you know, I think I did a video on that for the fellas too, talking about adjusting to cultures and everything, right? So it's interesting, fellas, that they have the same things going on that we have as far as, you know, beginning to understand each other.
Right.
They're all similar, you know? Interesting. We don't always hear, you know, these gems like this that's coming from the woman's perspective. You know, we're looking forward to more of this.
Oh, you are?
Yes, we are.
Oh,
we need
thank
to hear
you.
what y'all Dominicanas and foreign ladies be thinking about, you know, so we can, you know, so we can get ahead of this. So this last one right here is that they will fit easily into your circle of friends and family.
Okay. This topic came about because of a situation where we had discussed this a very long time ago. I'll give you the example. Let's say that the young lady comes from, lower to middle class DR. Nice young lady, not really corporate person, hasn't really worked in, too many places. And then she meets a corporate man and they fall in love and they have a great relationship. They do the process and end up moving into America. They get to America and he lives in an upper, is it affluent?
Upper middle class, or
like even affluent society?
It could be affluent. It could be affluent.
Now I'm doubting all my words because I've been saying words wrong. It can be affluent, so like now I don't know how to say words anymore.
No, you good. It could be upper middle class. Even our middle class would be different to your middle class.
Right.
So just a difference in statuses,
So, this person's circle of friends are all college educated. They all either own businesses or work in corporate, or some of them may even be in fraternities. We don't have any of that here, right? The women that are in his circle and that are in his family, they're all women that have masters and doctorates and multiple degrees and all very nice, lovely people. But what happens is the woman that comes from here and goes from over there with a limited amount of English and a limited amount of world views and world knowledge feels a little bit isolated in that circle. Mm-hmm. So, the issue comes when they think, man, I thought I was going to get over here and it was going to be great. Now I find myself isolated with no friends and no one to talk to. And I don't really feel like I fit in anywhere. And that could become a problem because the expectation that she has is I'm just going to go over there and it's going to be great. And when they get over there, they realize it's a different experience than they thought it was. And not that this can't work. We've seen it work many times. Mm-hmm. It's just if you kind of set up the expectation of what the reality is, you kind of put that person in a place where they say, okay, this is where I'm going. Maybe I'll learn to speak better English. Maybe while I'm here waiting for my paperwork to go in to go to the US, I'll go to school and perfect my English and my language skills so I can communicate a little better. There's a lot of things that can be done, but that's a big expectation that they have that turns out to be unrealistic.
Right. That's something a lot of you don't think about, and it's because men we don't really care. A lot of times when we're choosing a woman, we don't care how much she makes. We really don't care, what type of job she has. Look, as long as it's legal and it's not OnlyFans, we ain't really tripping too much. You know what I'm saying? But what you don't think about is your social circle that's different from hers. It can weigh on the status difference.
Yeah.
Where she does feel like she doesn't fit in, or your people, not purposely, can have her feeling like, she's not there. She's not a part of that, or she's not up to speed, or she's not, you guys know what I'm trying to say. It can make her feel low.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that you have to consider sometimes when you're selecting a woman and you're looking for a certain type of woman, because besides the bad choices some guys make, you ain't no hood dude and you going deep in the hood getting a hood chick, and we've talked about that before. Beside that, you may get a nice young lady, but you have to consider that you guys are from two different levels, two different statuses, and how is that gonna make her feel? Because how she responds to it could be a way that you're not expecting. She could be responding with a bad attitude, or
she could get into kind of even made an isolated, depressive.
Yeah, she could be depressed.
Yeah,
but people show their depression in different ways.
True.
Sometimes they show it in a way that you think that she's being, has a bad attitude, but really she feels inferior, and she's responding in a way to protect her spirit or to protect herself. She's rejecting a lot of things to not feel low.
She might have even been blindsided by it.
Yep.
Like in reality, she probably just, because of the unrealistic expectation, she really just thought, I love this guy. I treat him great. He treats me great. We're going to go into this whole new life. I can't wait to meet his friends and his family. I'm so excited. He's spoken to me about all his friends for years, and I can't wait to meet everyone. And she has this love and these open arms, and she can't wait. And then she gets there, and the situation is not the same. So I'm not saying that it can't go well, and I'm not saying that it won't work. We've seen it work.
No, it can work.
We've seen it work.
Yeah.
But these, like we said, and we keep saying, these are expectations that maybe you need to kind of tell her about prior to,
and talk about, and you consider it,
and let her know.
And because that can make you handle situations when you're with her around your people. You can kind of make sure go out of your way to make sure she's comfortable, and go out of your way to make sure things don't get a little bit too big for her. It's
something about, but believe it or not, he still prepares me for a lot of situations. Without talking too much about situations, he'll say, we're going to go do this, or we're going to go meet this, or we're going to whatever. And he'll prep me for the situation and kind of let me know what to expect and what will be the best way to handle certain things. And I feel so prepared for these situations when he tells me things like that I kind of already, I know what to do. I know what's going to happen. I'm ready for it. Go. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that he does that, because he knows me, and he knows that I'm a little shy, and I'm a little goofy, and I'm a little funny. I'm a sweetheart, and I don't mean any harm, but sometimes certain situations he needs me to be smart to prevent some things. Right. So it's the same thing. Yeah. You would kind of just prepare her for certain things and kind of get her ready. And once you prepare her and get her ready, she knows, okay, I got this. Let's do this. And she's ready, and she knows what to expect. Gives her confidence,
Yes, it does. And so
he does it all the time with me.
Yeah. When we talk about, a lot of times they use these words about providing and protecting so much in the States that it's just a talking point now, but that's part of protecting her. Yeah. You're providing her with information that protects her, and keeping, and that's your way of getting in front of situations for her. Yeah. So she doesn't have to get caught off guard.
Exactly.
You are on guard, so she doesn't have to get caught off guard. And that's what I mean by, you getting in front of conversations that she may not be quite ready for, and you being able to get her ready for things that people might say or whatever, give her answers, or, just prepping her for all kinds of things, but again, like we've been saying, these points right here are something for you to get ahead of it so that you don't because if you get caught off guard, you're not going to understand what she's tripping off of. And then it creates outside stuff. Is creating a situation that you guys are fighting each other over. You don't want that. You want to be able to get to the point ahead of time. Yeah. So your relationship, you're gonna have other things that you have to that you have to deal with on the spot. We're trying to create less of those things.
Correct.
These points right here are gonna take you a long way. Just these alone.
Yep, these are the top ones that that we keep consistently hearing. They keep coming up in conversations. So we thought we'd give them to you to make your relationships a little better. And again, these are not red flags. These are we're talking about good people and good relationships. They're loving relationships, and they maybe just need a little better understanding, and we kind of help them out in that area so things could, I guess, go smoother.
I like this.
Yeah, I like it too.
Let's give Miss Pro a hand for this. We need some more of this.
I did okay.
I like this one right here. We need some more of this. Miss Pro for you up in here, dropping the gems on us.
I dropped a gem.
She dropped a gem. She dropped a bunch of gems on this one right here. So we like this. So since we like this, fellas, we got to tell you like we all. Oh, and if you have any other things that Yeah. So, you know, we was about to,
ready.
We was about to kick this thing, you know what I'm saying, off. So look, any other these gems like this that you have that we may have missed or questions, just drop them in the comment section.
Yeah.
You know, we love to see it, and you know we're going to respond to it. Now, back to what I was going to say. If you like this thing that we just did, I know,
Come on, like you're throwing me off here.
I know, let's get this rhythm back. Like we always say, like and subscribe. Love, Purpose, and Passports.
Bye.
Peace.
Yeah.